So then on to Argentina, to the final round, the 15th, making it the longest season by 2, and it would have been by 3 if the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa hadn't been cancelled. So scheduled for 135.3 kilometres in this final race. The grid position order: Gardner, Momola, Lawson from Mackenzie, Yatsushiro, Saron, at a race that really was a shambles from the start. And it continues to be a shambles as the lights go green with the officials standing in the middle of the grid, waving a red flag, and riders trying to run him down as they're given the green light to get away. Obviously, it has to be a restart. So they return slowly to the grid. Neil Mackenzie having broken well, along with Mike Baldwin on 4. Raymond Roche on the Cagiva number 8. Yatsushiro on 16. Haslam on 9. Didi de Radigues on 7. This is how it happened. Dreadfully dangerous for riders and officials, who does a quick step to try and get out of the way of Randy Momola and also of Raymond Roche. The official did pretty well, actually, good on his feet. Let down by the crew who flashed the green light. And now, with the lighting box taken apart, the red light shown, and now a clean green light, and surely the rider's a little bit detuned from that, wondering what can happen next. So it's Eddie Lawson who heads into the lead ahead of Wayne Gardner. Raymond Roche on the Cagiva, Ron Haslam on the Elf at this stage. Randy Momola, Christian Saron well placed too. And then Momola now in front of Roche, and Saron surging under both of them. Good determined stuff from the Frenchman. Second place Gardner, the new world champion. Saron diving past Momola, determined in this last race of the season to prove his worth. As Lawson and Gardner, the champions of the last 2 years, spear away from Momola, Saron and Roche. Yamaha and Cagiva. And it's Yamaha Honda up front. And then Yatsushiro heads Mike Baldwin, making the third bunch. Now Momola in front of Saron and Gardner in front of Lawson. Punches off into the lead, still not giving away anything, despite the championship now being his. And only 1 week later, having to get his mind into gear again to concentrate on racing and making no errors.
Basically, you had a sore head from partying from Brazil. It was a few nights to remember, and it was very, very enjoyable. And as I said, a 10-year dream come true. So it was very nice. Argentina was a big question mark, because basically we turned up and the place was totally disorganised, really.
But they weren't. Gardner and Lawson and everybody else, their minds fully on the job. Not to be on the job is to risk an accident in this sort of profession. So Gardner, just 1 week after his championship win, fully into gear, right up on the curbing, hot-footed after by Eddie Lawson. But still competitive, still riding flat out, and thinking too of next season. Down the straight they come. The deposed champion chasing the new one and slicing down the inside and going into the lead. In this 15th and final round, Eddie Lawson, the American, from Wayne Gardner, the Australian, and Christian Saron, poor Christian. Brave, lovely man, but has had a very nasty season with accidents. And Shunji Yatsushiro hasn't had such a bright time either. Saron's had the worst of all. He's banged his head badly twice. What a shame for him that he's finished the season on such a note. Eddie Lawson, far from being his best season, but what a wonderful one for Gardner. Momola, chasing, ever chasing. Now, no longer in the run for the title, again trying to win that second place in the championship that he knows so well. Surely must frustrate him as the angular man clambers all over his Yamaha. A season in which he hasn't been able to match this combination. 10 Grand Prix wins in his career for Wayne Gardner. 12 for Randy Mamola, 19 for Eddie Lawson. Junji Yatsushiro yet to have one. Mike Baldwin going well in his return after dreadful injuries earlier in the season. A long time getting his wrist back to normal. Lawson leading. Season 2, where the Manufacturers' Championship's been an interesting battle between Yamaha and Honda. Points also, both for Elf and also for Suzuki and Kojima. So 5 makes getting Manufacturers' Championship points this season. But Yamaha, although Wayne Gardner's won the season for Rothman's Honda, for the riders, the Manufacturers' side will see a win for Yamaha. Gardner allowing himself what he wouldn't earlier in the season, to glance back to see that Randy Mamola's hot on his hammer and in fact takes him. So Gardner, the champion, goes back to third as Mamola surges through and hot shoes after Eddie Lawson. Wayne Gardner not really fully on the job there, so that he's not so much worried about what's happening now as about what might happen in the year in which he has to defend his championship.
The track was very unusual. After a few problems of putting up hay bales and basically just a lot of problems, we got a race underway. And of course the guy nearly got knocked over on the start line because the green flag went too early and there was all sorts of problems. But anyway, the race got underway. For me, it didn't really matter too much. The most important thing was I had to really start thinking about 1988. That meant some tyre testing and trying things that were available to us in the season, but I was never quite game enough to try them, such as different tyres. And for the race, the Michelin people said to me, we would like you to use it, but it's up to your decision. You can go with what you know, with what you win on all the time, or you can try this new tyre, which we think is very good. And in fact, I qualified again on that tyre, and it seemed to have worked all very, very well throughout practice. So it was a gamble, and what Michelin were after was basically information. So it was my decision, and I thought, well, I've got nothing to lose, and I really want to win in 1988, so it's about time some information comes. So I decided to use the tyre.
And Eddie Lawson is probably fairly pleased about it, because he's leading the race from Randy Mamola in hot pursuit. Gardner relegated to third. Might be disorganised in Argentina, but some glorious pictures, even if photographers are trying to get into the race. People down in the pit area, it's all rather frightening. It really is, but it's this man leading, and by virtue of being let through into second place by Wayne Gardner, Randy Mamola will take number 2 for next year. Eddie Lawson will go back from proudly bearing number 1 to being number 3. Position that was previously occupied, obviously, by Randy Mamola. Next year for him, an accustomed position, runner-up to the world champion, but never yet champion. Lawson leading, heading for the checkered flag, but heading for his most disappointing season in some while. The twice World 500 champion, nevertheless, adds the Grand Prix win to an illustrious record, making 19 in his career. Powering onto the back straight and towards a cluster of people overhanging the circuit. Randy Mamola there in second place, Wayne Gardner not far behind him in third, And checkered flag for Eddie Lawson from about the only man standing back behind the circuit itself. Randy Mamola headed for second place in the race, second in the championship, and Wayne Gardner coming home in third, but overall champion in a wonderful season in a chaotic race at Argentina. Mike Baldwin, Raymond Roche, Roche on the Kajita, heading Baldwin on the Lucky Strike Yamaha. And better not go out too wide with Neil Mackenzie coming in behind them. And Randy Mamola perhaps saying to Wayne Gardner, thanks for your help in helping me come through to be second in this year's championship. He comes back to Mike Sinclair, his long-time mechanic, and Wayne Gardner to Jerry Burgess, and that's the way they finished. Yatsushiro from Raymond Roche and Mike Baldwin in sixth place in a nice recovery for him, the man who missed 10 of the 15 races in this season. So the Australian world champion Wayne Gardner finishes a convincing 20 points in front of Randy Mamola, 21 in front of the deposed champion Eddie Lawson. What a great season it's been. I hope you've enjoyed it as much on SBS as we've enjoyed bringing it to you, and as much satisfaction as it's given Wayne Gardner in winning the title.
Longest 2 laps of my career was those last 2 laps. It felt like an eternity, and I had all sorts of imaginations that would break down, and it was a very worrying time. And eventually, you know, it came down to the flag, and there it was, and I couldn't believe it, and there's my 10-year dream come true.
He cannot lose it now as he goes down to the start-finish line, and he is the 1987, the 16th World 500 champion in the history of the class in this, its 39th year.